Emma had been dating Daniel for nearly 2 years. He always told her the same thing. "I don't care about money. I just love you for who you are." But Daniel didn't know one important secret about Emma. She wasn't poor. In fact, her family owned some of the most valuable properties in the city. And one day, Emma decided to test his love. Now this is where the story begins. Make sure you stay until the end because you won't want to miss what really happens. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next one. Emma Morgan lived a life most people could only dream of. Her father, Richard Morgan, was one of the most powerful real estate developers in the city. His company owned luxury hotels, shopping centers, and high-rise apartment buildings. Growing up, Emma had everything she could ever want: expensive vacations, private schools, and a beautiful home overlooking the skyline. But wealth also came with a problem. Many people treated her differently once they discovered who her father was. Some admired her only because of money, others tried to impress her, and some simply wanted to use her. That was why Emma decided something unusual when she became an adult. She would never reveal her family's wealth to anyone she dated. She wanted someone to love her for who she truly was, not for the lifestyle she could offer. Emma met Daniel 2 years earlier at a small neighborhood cafe. She had stopped there after work one evening to grab a cup of coffee. The cafe was quiet, warm, and filled with the smell of freshly baked pastries. Daniel was sitting at the table next to hers, struggling to balance his laptop and several papers. At one point, a stack of his documents fell onto the floor. Emma helped him pick them up. That small moment turned into a conversation. Daniel was charming and easy to talk to. He said he worked as a marketing assistant at a local company. He told Emma he admired people who worked hard and lived simple lives. Emma liked that. For the first time, she felt she was talking to someone who didn't care about wealth or status. Over the following weeks, they met again and again. Coffee turned into dinners. Dinners turned into long walks through the city. Eventually, they began dating. For a long time, Emma believed Daniel was sincere. He often said things like, "I don't need a rich life to be happy." And Emma believed him. But recently, something had started to change. Daniel had begun complaining more about money. Whenever they passed luxury restaurants or expensive cars, he would make comments like, "Life would be so much easier if I had money like that." At first, Emma thought he was only joking, but the jokes became more frequent. One evening during dinner, Daniel sighed while looking at the bill. "Sometimes I wish I could date someone successful," he said with a half laugh. Emma forced a smile, but the words stayed in her mind long after that night. Did Daniel really mean it as a joke? Or was there some truth behind it? After thinking about it for days, Emma made a decision. She would test Daniel, not to trick him, but to understand him. One evening, they met at the cafe where they had first met. Emma looked unusually quiet. Daniel noticed immediately. "Is everything okay?" he asked. Emma hesitated before answering. "I lost my job today," she said softly. Daniel looked surprised. "What happened?" "The company is downsizing," Emma explained. "They're letting several employees go." She lowered her eyes. "I don't know how I'll pay my rent next month." Emma waited for Daniel to react. She expected comfort, support, maybe even reassurance. But Daniel's reaction was not what she expected. He simply leaned back in his chair and sighed. "That's unfortunate," he said. His voice sounded distant, almost irritated. Over the next few weeks, Daniel's behavior slowly began to change. He canceled several of their dates. Sometimes he would say he was too busy. Other times, he simply didn't respond to Emma's messages for hours. When they did meet, Daniel seemed distracted. Emma noticed he had started talking more about wealthy people, about successful friends, about how much easier life would be if someone had money. One evening, Emma finally asked him directly, "Are you upset because I lost my job?" Daniel shrugged. "I just think relationships are easier when people are financially stable." Emma felt a sharp ache in her chest. For the first time, she began to wonder if the man she loved was not the person she believed he was. One afternoon, Emma went shopping with a close friend. As they walked through a large shopping mall, Emma suddenly stopped. Across the hallway, inside a luxury boutique, she saw a familiar face. It was Daniel. But he wasn't alone. He was standing close to a woman wearing elegant designer clothes. The woman was laughing while Daniel held her hand. Emma felt the world around her suddenly grow quiet. Her heart sank. She watched as Daniel spoke warmly to the woman, the same way he used to speak to her. Emma slowly stepped back. Her friend looked at her with concern. "Emma, are you okay?" Emma didn't answer, because at that moment she already knew the truth. That evening, Emma called Daniel. "Can we meet?" she asked. They met at the same cafe where their story had begun. Daniel looked slightly nervous. Emma studied his face calmly. "I saw you today," she said quietly. Daniel froze. Emma continued. "You were at the mall with another woman." Daniel opened his mouth but said nothing. Emma slowly reached into her bag and placed an envelope on the table. "Before you explain anything, there's something you should know." Daniel looked confused as Emma opened the envelope. Inside were documents, ownership papers for several major properties across the city. "My father owns half the buildings downtown," Emma said calmly. Daniel's eyes widened in shock. "I was never poor." Silence filled the cafe. Emma looked at him steadily. "I only wanted to know if someone would love me for who I truly am." Daniel suddenly leaned forward. "Emma, wait, I can explain." But Emma gently shook her head. "I already have my answer." Emma stood up from the table. For a moment, Daniel remained frozen in his chair. The truth had come too late. He had spent weeks chasing wealth. Without realizing, the woman sitting across from him already had everything he wanted. And now, she was walking away. Emma stepped outside into the cool evening air. For the first time in weeks, she felt calm. Sometimes painful truths are necessary because they reveal who truly deserves a place in our lives. Love is easy during happy times, but the true test of love appears when life becomes difficult, and Daniel had failed that test.